And welcome back into the WECT Digital Studios. I'm John Evans, along with meteorologist Eric Davis, here to give you the latest update on the winter storm that is going to impact southeastern North Carolina over the weekend with snow. The question still remains in many minds, Eric. People just want to know what to expect as far as how much snow, when it's going to start, when it's going to finish, and all those other kind of questions.
Yeah, I think we're getting a better idea, but it's still not rock solid at this hour. But we have put out our first snowfall forecast, and if you want to take a look at that snowfall forecast, here it is. This is what people want to see right here. Okay, so what we're saying right now is for most of southeastern North Carolina, 2 to 5 inches of snow. And I have to say, there's still potential. We could see quite a bit more than 2 to 5 inches, but there's some reasons why we have 2 to 5 inches as the forecast. One of them is a lot of computer models have what's called a dry slot. Any big low pressure area, like we're going to see develop off the coast, is going to have a dry slot. A lot of the computer models have that dry slot model right over southeastern North Carolina. If that happens, that is going to cut down on the amount of snow we see in southeastern North Carolina. Now, we'll still snow, but it would probably preclude us from seeing the 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch, maybe over a foot snowfall totals that some of the models have been showing.
And we'll see that as you get into some of your other models. You'll be able to see it. At least we did at 6 o'clock, unless something has changed.
I've got that, yeah.
Able to see some of the dry spots as the forecast models come through.
Yeah, and I want to mention some other hazards. Of course, some things we want to mention. It is still we're still saying very possible that we get some isolated snow bands that could produce over 6 inches of snow, maybe even more than that in some isolated areas. That could certainly still happen. I mean, this storm still has a very high ceiling. We got to remember that, and it has the potential to surprise. If there's ever a storm that has the potential to surprise us, this storm is that storm.
And what about, we already have one question in the feed on Facebook. Folks are wanting to know about power outages at this point in time. We talked last week when we were talking about a potential ice storm, that ice on power lines, ice on tree limbs, snapping tree limbs was a big threat with that storm last week. We got a break. It didn't hit us as much as we thought it might.
Right.
With this kind of a snow, it's not as heavy as some of those wet snows. So in your expert opinion here, the chance of those power outages goes down?
Not that high. I'm not saying no chance of power outage. It certainly wouldn't be because of ice building up on power lines. This is going to primarily be a snow event. Last week, you'll recall, we had to talk a lot about different precipitation types, freezing rain, sleet. We had a big, what was called warm nose above the surface. That's why we were talking about freezing rain, sleet versus snow. We don't have that warm nose this time. This is going to be purely a snow event. It is possible maybe very early in the event, maybe New Hanover, Brunswick County, maybe Saturday morning, you get a very brief period of sleet, but everything is going to quickly change over snow. This is primarily a snow event. And what's unusual about this snow, it's going to be falling at a time mostly while temperatures are in the teens and 20s. Normally when we talk about snow, it's very close to the freezing mark. It's going to be way below freezing this time. Normally we talk about a very wet snow. Not the case this time. This is going to be a dry and powdery snow. Has the potential to build up a little bit faster, too, because the water ratios are a lot lower than what we would normally see.
And with light snow like you're talking about and the winds that we're expecting with this, that brings another potential element into it. We'll get back to your graphics in a second, but snow drifts, blowing snow is a real concern.
Depending on how much snow falls. Of course, that's the million-dollar question. Right now, we're saying on average 2 to 5 inches. If you start getting just a little bit above that, drifting snow could be a real problem, and excuse me, even near zero visibility could be a possibility too. So blowing snow, I mean, these are things we almost never talk about in southeastern North Carolina, but we got to talk about them with this storm. And the other factor, John, now is we're saying very strong likelihood we're going to see 35+ mile per hour gusts. Why is that critical? If you have that going on for over 3 hours, visibility drops below a quarter of a mile, you could be talking about, at least for a brief time, parts of the area being under a blizzard here in southeastern North Carolina.
And there are specific criteria for that, as we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, it's 3 hours of having 35+ mile per hour wind gusts, and the other one would be having that visibility dropping below a quarter of a mile. You do that for 3 hours, technically it's a blizzard.
Considered a blizzard.
And even if we don't get the blizzard conditions, it may be near blizzard conditions.
Yeah,
keep that in mind as well.
Okay.
Marine impacts. I mean, there's just so many angles with this storm that we've got to talk about. Coastal flooding, beach erosion. I mean, maybe similar to a tropical storm in some of the coastal flooding that goes on, beach erosion. I mean, it's kind of moved to the back of our mind just because we're so focused on the snow and the cold, but that is something else we've got to consider, and maybe even along the intercoastal waterway we could have some issues, especially during the high tide cycles. And again, especially near the coast, that's where you have the best chance of seeing those near blizzard conditions.
Your snowfall benchmarks here, these are what we've experienced in the past.
Right.
Many folks who may be watching us may remember last year's snow, about 2.5 inches at the airport, maybe a little higher marks in some other areas. We talk back to the 1989 snow. Of course, that's the mark that so many people remember. We got more than a foot, well over a foot of snow here. But these are some of the more recent benchmark snows that you're talking about.
Yeah. Again, just a year ago, January 21st, 22nd, 2.6 inches of snow at ILM. Then before that, you go back to 2018. That's the last time we saw a snow over 3 inches, 3.8 inches, January 3rd to 4th of 2018. And then you have to go all the way back to 2000. That's 26 years ago for any snow over 5 inches. Remember, we're saying right now 2 to 5 inches, even on the conservative end. That could easily be beaten, Wilmington. I think we got a decent shot at beating that. I don't know if we get quite to 15. It would really take everything just breaking the right way. But as I'll show you, a 1 foot plus snow, even though we're saying 2 to 5, in an isolated spot, if things just break right, certainly could happen. It's not likely to happen, but it certainly could happen. Okay, and again, this is what we're talking about. This is the challenge of trying to forecast this snow. Now, this is the European computer model. It's been a good example of low-end snowfall here in southeastern North Carolina. This is what could happen. And again, you kind of see what's happening here. The dry nose is setting up literally right over southeastern North Carolina. If you look off to our north, you look off to our east, you look off to the west, everywhere you look, it's higher snowfall totals. But here in southeastern North Carolina, this is, again, and this is the European computer model, one of the most reliable models, shows that dry nose setting right up over us. This is why we're not going drastically high with our snowfall forecast. If this played out, 1 to 3 inches of snow for most of us.
And that would be nice to see, a nuisance in many ways, but that almost looks like a donut. You look at it, Elizabethtown and Whiteville and, southeastern or northeastern Brunswick County, northeastern Columbus County, southern Bladen County, Independence, and, the western part of New Hanover. It gets a little bit less here. This is the donut. This is the low-end model, as you're saying. And folks, if you're on with Facebook right now on the Facebook Live, as you look where your community is, if we can't answer what about in Surf City, what about in Sunset Beach, what about in Oak Island, what about in Tar Heel, take a look at this and the maps that Eric plays out here. This is the low end of what one of the models is showing for this weekend.
Yeah, and here's the important point, John. Somebody's getting the dry nose. We just don't know if it's going to be southeastern North Carolina or maybe somebody further to our west gets the dry nose. But if we get it, this could very well play out. But this could play out as well. This is the high-end snowfall model. This is the latest GFS, and take a look at how different it is. It's like night and day when you take a look at the latest snowfall forecast. And look at this. It's showing Wilmington getting over 7 inches of snow, and look at that, even some spots picking up over a foot of snow.
Elizabethtown, Fayetteville, Lumberton with this one, even Clinton, Kenansville, Burgaw going up and over almost 9 inches. So this is the high-end model. Again, of what you're talking about. The models still haven't kind of come into a good thinking together yet on this.
No, and again, this would be the totally opposite scenario. This is probably everything breaking just right. The first example is everything breaking wrong if you want to see a big snow. This would be everything breaking right. This is the heavy snow band setting right up over southeastern North Carolina. This is that low developing and what we call bombing out, meaning the pressures are just going to drop like a rock as we head into Saturday night. The snow band setting up just right. The low is just right. The position of the heavy snow just right. This is not out of the question. Maybe 10, 15% chance that this scenario plays out. Maybe 20, 30% chance that the first scenario plays out.
Okay. What's next?
All right. We've got, and then this is probably a more reasonable snowfall forecast.
Okay.
We saw the low end. We've seen the high end. This might be a better sense. This is our in-house graph model, and this is, by the way, is a higher resolution model than either of the first two models I show. This is probably a little more reasonable scenario. Actually, I think this might be a new run, and it's ticked up just a little bit, but it's showing maybe 4, 6 inches. That's not that much different than the 2 to 5 inches. But again, we really think that dry nose is really a possibility, and that's why we're not going higher. But but you see the challenge in trying to forecast exact snowfall. There's still so many variables, even this close to the storm, to try to nail down an exact snowfall forecast. It's really impossible because we're dealing with dry noses. We're dealing with, banding of snow. For instance, in a hurricane, we talk about sometimes there's a heavy rain band that produces a lot of flooding. Well, it's kind of the same thing. If a snow band sets up in just the right way, that localized spot could pick up over a foot of snow
and parks there and doesn't move like Florence did when it hit us in 18. And again, if you look at this, and now what is it, an hour 15 maybe between Wilmington and Clinton? In this model, that's a half a foot of snow difference. Could be there with Burgaw getting more. And again, a lot of the folks on our Facebook. Facebook Live here asking, what are we going to do? What are we going to get? All they can do right now is compare models and what the models are saying. I do have somebody saying, I just moved here from Orlando and I'm staying temporarily at a pop-up camper. You did talk about the wind gusts that are coming with this, but it's not going to be hurricane force wind gusts here, but maybe potentially tropical storm.
Yeah, I think absolutely tropical storm force winds. I mean, we're already saying 35 plus mile. It's not hard to imagine we could have a 40 or even 50 mile per hour wind gust. And again, if we get that sustained for a few hours, and again, if the snow is just right, that's where you're talking about a blizzard potentially.
Yeah. So anyway, it's not going to be for the person. Now the feed has kind of gone by, and I don't remember the name, but they were talking about staying in a pop-up camper. At this point, it doesn't appear like the winds will be strong enough to blow the camper over, but it's not going to be just a calm, cool, collected night.
Yeah. The bigger issue is probably just the wind chill you're going to be experiencing. I mean, we could be talking about wind chill values we haven't seen in 7 or 8 years here in southeastern North Carolina. We could be easily near zero here in Wilmington, probably sub-zero wind chills for the inland. When you factor in temperatures in the teens, 30-plus mile per hour gusts, that is absolutely frigid. And cold weather is certainly another aspect to the storm that we'll have to get more into.
Okay, let's get back to your graphics. I know folks want to hear a little bit more about what you're talking about.
Another point, too, is when you have a situation like this with this dry snow and all the wind that we're going to see, it may seem like it's snowing harder than it actually is. And again, I think we've really got to encourage people to stay off the road Saturday night, not just because the roads might be snowy, which is obviously an issue, but it may be hard to see. It may be, we don't normally talk about, visibility issues. If you live in the north, John, you probably had this in Pennsylvania, but not even often there. But that is a real thing. It's just the low visibility. It really would be dangerous to be outside and trying to drive around on Saturday night.
But this is what we can expect and when we can expect it. Temperatures below, at or below freezing Friday night. Saturday night is the night when everything is going to come together in this storm.
Yeah, Saturday night, far away. This is the worst weather. This is when you get the peak snow. This is when you get the peak wind. The coldest temperatures will be experienced Saturday night into Sunday morning. So that is clearly the worst. Saturday is a little bit of a wild card. We don't know exactly when the snow is going to start, but we may just start off with some snow showers. Travel may not be a huge issue on Saturday. I actually think temperatures may get above freezing across most of the area on Saturday afternoon. So Saturday's not looking that bad. So just because Saturday night not seem as bad as you might have thought, don't think that the storm isn't going to get bad. It is going to get really bad Saturday evening into Saturday night. And I have little doubt that that's going to be the case. And then, of course, the question is how long does the snow stick around on Sunday? Our in-house model actually thinks the snow clears out pretty quickly. Another reason why we might cut down on the snowfall totals a little bit if, in fact, that plays out. But notice the slick travel. Remember, yellow is possible. The red is what we're really concerned about. That's likely. Possible issues on Saturday, but we are likely to have slick travel Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday. Why is that? We're not getting above freezing on Sunday. 30 degrees is our high, and it's only 38 for a high on Monday. So it's going to take a while to get rid of all this. And remember the marine impacts. They'll peak probably Saturday night into Sunday.
And again, reminding people that it may be sunny out, but the sun, if the temperature is around 32, the sun might help a little bit, but it's not going to melt a lot of this snow on Monday. This snow's going to stick around for a while.
Yeah, especially Sunday. Don't look for much improvement. I'm hoping Monday we will if we get it to 38 or so, which is our forecast high, but even that's in doubt a little bit. I'm trying to be optimistic with that high of 38 on Monday, but that should really begin to improve things as we get into Monday, but it may be Tuesday or Wednesday before things are fully back to normal.
And most of the school systems, before we get back to the graphics here in a moment, most of the school systems across the area have let us know that their administrators are monitoring the snows. Some said it's likely that they might go remote learning on Monday. They have posted messages on social media, Facebook, and some of the other social media accounts. Safe to say, though, those of us have been here would not be surprised if classes are canceled on Monday or they go remote learning on Monday and maybe Tuesday as well.
Pretty high odds for Monday and possibly even to Tuesday, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and just we'll make sure that we'll have those on our website. We'll say those on the air. If we have ideas of what's going to happen tomorrow, Gabe Ross and I will be back in here at 11 tomorrow. The governor's going to give another update at 11 tomorrow morning. Gabe Ross will be in here with me after the governor's update. We'll go over everything we have as far as schools are concerned, anything else that we need to know as far as emergency management and emergency plans. All right, let's get back to Eric's graphics.
Yeah, and of course, one of the things that's very unusual about this pattern is take a look at the upper pattern. This is the upper pattern. I can't even remember seeing this. Maybe I've been working here 20 years, but I can't not remember a time when you have a trough with this much Arctic air. Literally, I mean, this is literally air from Siberia and the Arctic taking aim right at North and South Carolina. I mean, you're literally opening the freezer door, and that air is coming right into South. That's part of the reason why temperatures are going to be so brutally cold. We're talking again about highs on Sunday, not even above freezing. We're talking about lows in the teens, even the possibility of sub-zero. These are just things we almost never talk about here in southeastern North Carolina. And honestly, you might have to almost go back to the 80s before you find something that's even colder than what we're going to experience here. I think in 1985, that air mass might actually be colder than the one. But that's 40 years ago. I mean,
hard to believe, but it is 40 years ago. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's just, so this is something we're talking about. This might be a once in a 25, 30 year event here that's going to be taking place in terms of the cold air and the possibility of this bomb cyclone that we're going to see. And it's going to take a while to warm things back up. Thankfully, by Tuesday, the worst of the cold air is out of here, but we're still in the blue, so temperatures are going to stay kind of chilly here, it looks like, for a while.
And again, we'll get back to the graphics. I did have a question here. It's gone through the feed. What is a bomb cyclone? Can you explain that quickly? I mean, is it a quick explanation?
Yeah. I have to look at the specific numbers. I'm not. But basically, what a bomb cyclone is basically it's an area of low pressure. That what we call rapidly deepens. Basically, the pressure just bottoms out. It falls like in an incredible rate. I can't remember what the exact number is, but that's what's going to happen. In fact, and a good example of that is it won't be that bad during the day on Saturday. That's because the bomb cyclone hasn't really developed. The reason why the weather's going to be so bad Saturday night, that's when you're going to have that explosive drop in the pressure. The cyclone is what we call bombing out. It's going to get very strong, very fast. Basically, an area of low pressure that gets very strong, very fast off the coast.
So basically, and again, if I'm wrong, correct me here, during a tropical system, we see the pressure inside these massive tropical systems, we see it lower and lower slowly. And every once in a while, we'll see one go from category 1 to 4.
Yeah, it's kind of the same principle.
Same thing, but it's happening in a heartbeat rather than over a long period of time.
It's kind of the same principle, but the difference is the winter storms is a much larger area. It's a much smaller area when you're talking about a tropical cyclone. That's why you're not as concerned about hurricane force winds and things like that with this. But you still could be easily talking about tropical storm force winds, but just the wind, the cold, the snow, I mean, that's all going to play into this.
So bomb cyclones, for those of you who are wondering, is when the pressure inside one of these systems just drops and it intensifies everything inside
at a very rapid rate.
Very rapid rate.
That's going to happen Saturday night.
Okay. All right. Let's get back to your large-scale pattern here.
Yeah. And again, you see still kind of in the cold color for much of next week, but thankfully, slowly over time, I think temperatures will get a little bit better, but some indications we may stay below normal. Maybe nothing like we're going to experience right now, but a lot of below normal temperatures still in the forecast. Let's talk a little more about the cold weather. That's the other big aspect of the storm. And again, Saturday night, look at that. Arctic air firmly in place. We're talking about wind chill values near 0 degrees Saturday night and maybe just a little bit above 0 Sunday night. Now, interestingly, the coldest temperature may actually be Monday night. I'm now forecasting 14 degrees. The reason why you'll have clear skies and the wind will be lighter, so the actual temperature on Monday night may be able to drop lower than what we're going to see Saturday and Sunday night. But we're talking about 3 brutally cold nights in a row across the area.
That's why we're talking about make sure pets, plants, pipes, and people are remembered, and you need to take all of the precautions when it comes to anything like that in and around your home or with your family.
Yeah, and again, maybe a little bit of a change with this. You can see on Saturday, we start off with temperatures in the 20s, 17 degrees, the wind chill on Saturday morning when you wake up. Now, a little bit of good news, I guess, if there's any good news here. Saturday afternoon looking just a tad warmer than we were thinking yesterday. We now think temperatures will actually tick above freezing. That's why we may start off just with a little bit of sleet possibly near the coast in Wilmington on Saturday afternoon. Wind chill value is still in the 20s, but here it comes. Once that low really bombs out and we start to really see that Arctic air really begin to pour in, it gets brutal here as we head towards Sunday morning. Sunday morning at 7 o'clock. There it is. Temperatures in the teens, wind chill barely above zero. And now look at Boone. Look at Boone. -4 for the actual temperature and 30 below zero for the wind chill. 21 below zero in Asheville.
Oh, my. And again, somebody must have gone to Google because they say bomb cyclone when the storm pressure drops 24 millibars in 24 hours.
I couldn't remember right off the top of my head.
No, but you had this. Somebody apparently went to Google and got it.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Let me see who. I got to give props out on the feed to Cherry.
Yeah, thank
Cherry
you.
said millibars dropped 24 in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So you had the right that you just somebody else
the exact
gave it.
number. Yeah. I got too many numbers floating in my head right now.
Yeah, I imagine so with this storm.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and take a look at again another view of the extremely cold nights. Again, Saturday night we're saying. I think I did make a mistake. Sunday night is actually the coldest night. My mistake there. But 16 degrees on Saturday night. Look at the wind chill. 2 degrees. Similar conditions Sunday night, 14. Still some wind around, so we're still talking about single-digit wind chills on Sunday night. But even Monday night, we're still talking about temperature around 20 degrees. So still, my point stands, 3 brutally cold nights in a row coming up here as we head into the weekend and early next week.
And talking about the wind gusts, this is what you're talking about along the coast. And you mentioned in our 6 o'clock newscast the possibility of some flooding in some of these areas, maybe even along the intercoastal.
Right. We have to kind of think of this as a tropical system. And when it comes to, we've obviously been focusing on the snow and cold, but if you live near the beach, coastal flooding, real possibility during high tide cycles, maybe even a little bit of coastal flooding along the intercoastal waterway with this. You can see the powerful winds out of the north. Now, again, this is the cyclone kind of bombing out. Saturday afternoon, the low is starting to form, but it's not as strong as it can be. Look at the wind gusts, 25-plus miles per hour Wilmington, about 30 miles per hour in Oak Island. But then over the course of just a few hours, that low-pressure area is absolutely going to strengthen quickly. And then look what happens to the wind gusts around 1 a.m., This is probably, too, when we're probably seeing some of the – so this coincides with when we're seeing some of the heaviest snows. This is why you could see blizzard conditions that would probably be overnight while you're asleep. But it's certainly a real possibility. Look at that, 35-plus mile per hour wind gusts, Wilmington, Jacksonville, and maybe even a few spots 40, 50 miles per hour. Just incredible. It's a northwest wind. At least it's an offshore wind. That's good.
If you're in Oak Island, you're going to have you're going to hear the wind blow. It might rattle the windows down there in Sunset Beach as well.
Not just Oak Island, but boy, everywhere. It's just incredible. But this is why you can't rule out the possibility of blizzard conditions, at least for a short period of time. Thankfully, as that low pulls away, we'll gradually start to see the winds come down, though, on Sunday.
Okay, the forecast as we get closer to the storm and then after the storm.
Excuse me for my cough there. First alert weather days, of course, Saturday, Sunday. We've now extended them to Monday and Tuesday because we think we're still going to have travel problems during this time. But obviously, Saturday, a little bit above freezing, maybe initially a wintry mix. And then probably Saturday evening is when I really expect things to go downhill very quickly. We may see some snow bands a little earlier inland, but they should spread to the coast by evening. And then the worst of the weather, clearly Saturday evening, Saturday night, likely while you're asleep. That's when you have the heaviest snow, the strongest winds. Some leftover snow probably first thing on Sunday. Notice Sunday, it never gets above freezing, only 30 for the high. And so it's going to take a while to melt all of this. Even Monday, a high of 38 degrees for Groundhog Day. And finally, by Tuesday, we break back into the 40s.
Well, chances are the groundhog's not going to even want to come out to look for his shadow on Monday.
I certainly wouldn't.
Okay, basically bottom line it here. We're going into the weekend. Snow is going to fall here. It's depending on how the system does and whether or not we get any dry spots in the system as it comes along. And your forecast now anywhere from 3 to 6 as far as the area's snow for.
Yeah, 2 to 5 on average, I think, for most of us. But yeah, that's in the ballpark. But as I said, if things break just right, a few spots could pick up over a foot of snow, but if it breaks wrong, if you're a snow lover, if we get the worst case scenario at the dry slot, that could cut snowfall totals all the way down maybe 1, 2, 3 inches.
Okay. Power outages at this point in time. Snow not as bad as a threat to power outages as ice would have been last week.
Not even close. I think the big issue with power outages might just come from the wind and the snow. but we don't foresee ice building up on power lines. That's probably not going to happen.
Okay, and then again, we do know when you wake up Sunday morning, the roads will likely be covered. DOT crews are going to be out, and they say, please, if you can, stay off the roads. One blessing here, at least a little bit, is a lot of this is going to fall late into the night Saturday, into the early morning hours Sunday.
Right.
Not a real busy time on roads.
Right.
So if crews can get a jump start on this maybe Sunday morning and get a head start on the roads before folks start to venture out, we may be in a better shape with roads.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that. But obviously, probably the highways, I would imagine.
Right, interstates, 4-lane roads.
They'll be the first ones cleared, but
Yeah.
it may take a lot longer before a snowplow or anything gets in your neighborhood. Because there's only so many of them out there.
Right, they say they have 50 trucks in the division that handles New Hanover, Brunswick, Division 3 we are. New Hanover, Brunswick, Pender, and kind of up toward Duplin is where this division handles. We thank all of you who have joined us on the WECT News Facebook Live. And Cherry said, by the way, she didn't Google. Cherry's a weather nerd.
Okay.
She just want to let us know. Didn't go to Google.
Cherry, you obviously studied harder than I did, so good job, Cherry, there.
We appreciate you, Cherry. We appreciate everybody else who's joined us asking good questions. We'll be back in here tomorrow. I'll be in here at about 11 o'clock with Gabe Ross, and then about 1 o'clock, we do have the New Hanover County Emergency Management Office giving us an update as well. So stay tuned on WECT.com, our news app, on our Facebook Live, and on our YouTube channel. We'll continue to update. Eric is on tonight with us on WECT News at 10 and 11. Gannon back first thing tomorrow, or no, Gabe back first thing tomorrow.
Yep.
Carolina in the morning, the very latest on the model runs and everything else like that. For First Alert meteorologist Eric Davis, I'm John Evans. Download that WECT weather app, everybody. That'll help keep you weather aware. Stay in touch, stay warm, and stay safe, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.